We also want to say, hey, Jason.
Hey, how you feeling?
Good. How you doing?
I'm just sitting here vibing your conversation right now.
Thank you. Well, I was listening to you. I was frantically typing in the comments when you were trying to go on live day before yesterday, a couple days ago. I was like, this is how you do it. Hit the triangle. But there was so many people on your live that,
My, my
I
phone
don't.
my phone was acting janky on me. It was I kept hitting it and it was not letting me accept requests and that sort of thing. I'm outside in my yard, so if there's planes flying overhead, I apologize.
No, no, it's beautiful. But what was beautiful and what made me reach out to you is we've been really, really appreciative. I talked about all of the organizers who've committed our lives to doing this work, but we also have been really appreciative of people like you who have large platforms who say, yes, I'm an actor and I have all of this, but it's really important that I use my platform to uplift people. And so as I was watching what you were doing, I went back through your Instagram and saw your, what is it, dork dance contest.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. It was the Dork It Out Dance Challenge that the woman that you were watching me talking to was Jen Pastiloff, who was doing a smaller version of what you're trying to get going, and just hers is more general, not targeted at a particular community, but she's trying to feed people $100 gift certificate at a time, just one gift certificate at a time, and they're doing it themselves. It's exactly the kind of thing you're talking about. It's exactly the kind of mutual aid you're talking about, except for she's not focused on the black community. But I think it's beautiful that you're having this conversation because, as we all know, number one, COVID-19 disproportionately affects the black community. Number
Right.
one, I mean, it's all the essential workers are disproportionately made up of people of color because it's the jobs that we can get. And then we're disproportionately, we disproportionately have some of the underlying conditions that cause us to be more dramatically affected if we get COVID-19. I mean,
Right.
I'm yelling at my mom and my brother back in Virginia. I'm like, my brother's gotten a little bit bigger as he's gotten older, and my mother's got type 2 diabetes, and I'm like, y'all can't be playing around with this. This is not a
Right.
game. Keep it straight. So I love that you're bringing this up because our community needs to be having a deeper conversation about this than virtually anyone else.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we want to uplift, and one of the things we try to uplift is the underlying conditions are also results from anti Black racism, right? So we're more stressed out because we deal with racism on a daily. We have food deserts in our community that don't allow us to eat as healthy as we would like. We're overworked. And so this is not our fault, but it is something that we have to address and something we have to dig ourselves out of.
It's systemic. It's
Right.
systemic, right? I mean, when you hear the statistics where they talk about people can't, if you had a $400 emergency, a $500 emergency, the percentage of people in the country in general that would bankrupt them, that would wreck their whole financial year is huge, but the number of black folks is exponentially larger.
Right.
And that's a systemic going all the way back to slavery. It's just real. And when I have this conversation with friends of mine who are not people of color, they try and get defensive. I'm like, don't get defensive. It's just facts. It's just
Right.
facts. You know what I mean? It's like, if your mom and dad can help pay for college so you don't have to get in debt before you go, God bless them. God bless them. But that's a leg up that a lot of folks don't have because mom and dad don't have any money to give.
Right. Right.
I mean, we deal in communities where people reach out for each other. Look, I got to go to college because my mom's a teacher, so she had a lot of friends who knew about Links organization or this, that, and the other thing, or this fraternity. So I cobbled together a whole bunch of different little mini scholarships to get my butt to college, and that's how I paid to get there, and that's where I discovered acting. And then, I try and reach back and give something back whenever I get a chance because I know that I never would have even had a shot. I would even have known about this if other people in my community hadn't reached out and shown me something.
Right. So, what do you think that is? So, even the cobbled together scholarships, and I went to college the same way. My mother was also a teacher and, didn't have a lot of money, but did have some resources. And I'm not first generation, right? I'm not a first generation college student, right? So,
Same, same.
that's there. But what do you think that is in Black community where we are willing to cobble it together? Say Jason is talented. We want to all pitch in $20. If that's what we got, we gonna pitch it in to make sure you're all right.
You know what? I mean, for better or for worse, things that came out of, I think, the pain and suffering that was the genocide of slavery is when you're all being oppressed to that level, to an existential level,
Mm-hmm.
you say, if only one of us can make it out, and you got the best,
Right.
you got the fastest legs, you got the strongest back, then you're the one. I'll put
Mm-hmm.
my money on you because if only one, it's like if you put it in terms of your family, if there was some catastrophe, the zombie apocalypse started right now, and and only one of my kids can make it out, I'm gonna give that kid everything I got, and I'm gonna tell them run as fast
Mm-hmm.
as you can, go as far as you can. And I think that's been in us for centuries, and that's just going back to that point. But then you go back and look at the communities in Africa. I mean, I had the blessing to go back to Ghana, which I have tons of Ghanaian ancestry, and it's the first sub-Saharan country that got its freedom. And you look at how it sparked revolutions all across. We pay attention. We do a call and response. We listen to each other. It's part of our natural thing. We say, "What do you got going on?" And I'll pay attention to some of that. It's not perfect. I'm not going to say competition doesn't come into play, but I think the natural instinct that we have as people of color is to do that. Listen, that call and response. It's how we do. It's how we do. It's how we commune when we go to church. It's how we do music. It's how we do dance. I feel it's a fundamental piece, and so it flows over into how we do business and how we handle ourselves as a community. Is what? If you got something going on, let me try and mirror that a little bit. Maybe help you out a little bit, and you help me out a little bit. That back and forth, I think, just bleeds on.
And what is it for you? Because I know, so you know you're going to get something for being on live with Black Lives Matter, right? You know? So what is it for you? Which we're appreciative that you're here. We're very appreciative that you're here. What is it for you that not only wants to help the whole, because you were on with, what's her name, Jen Pasteloff? You were
Yeah, Jen
on with
passed
her.
along. Yeah.
But what is it for you that makes you say, I also have to help my own people?
Well, it's there's a general sense of there, but for the grace of God, go I. But
Mm,
when it comes to your people, it's the each one got to teach one. I used to, look. I mean, my mom was a teacher, and it was more than just her job; it was her calling.
right.
And I saw her, and you want to look at this idea, look at teachers. I mean, teachers will come out their pocket to get these students right. And they got a student they believe
Mm-hmm.
in. And I watched my mom do it more times than I can count. My mom taught LD kids, and she also knew how many kids, kids of color would get, a kid of color who had a learning disability would get labeled just a problem child, whereas the kid who's not a kid of color, the white kid, is going to get the second and third shot to figure out, well, maybe they got a learning disability that we need to pay attention to. How can we help them out? You know what I mean? And then, I mean, you go to, one of the reasons why the, institutions, the correctional facilities, let's call them, why prisons are
Mm-hmm.
filled with people of color is so many of them have learning disabilities
Mm,
at an incredibly high level. So for me, I just grew up with a mother who gave, and I saw it come back to her. When we had to move, when my mom showed up at the house and said, "Here's the thing, I know you've lived in this house most of your life, but in a week we need to live someplace else."
mm,
Everybody showed up and helped us move because we couldn't afford movers. A few years later, when I was in college, and she let the house go for a little bit, we were living with friends. And I came home to a house that, and I crashed on the couch. When you see people take care of you, you understand you got to take care of other people. It's just what it is. It's just,
right.
so it's how you're raised is part of it. So for me, that was it. My mother being, the main force, but I got a lot of strong women, and that's the other part is that, I mean, black women are the core of the black community. I mean, the Democratic Party has finally started to understand it. Uh, and there's a lot of talk about it now, but I've seen it my entire life because every time we got in tight and we got pulled out of the financial fire, it was by my mom's friends. It was by my
Mm,
mother robbing Peter to pay Paul was a phrase I grew up with, and so that to me taught me that if you get something, you got to find a way to get back. I mean, what I would love to see right now personally, and I tell my kids, I'm like, there are 5 different currencies or so. There might be a 6th, but obviously cash is a currency, but then creativity is a currency.
right.
When people give up their art, their gift, God gives them a gift. They give that gift to other people. It's a gift they can give people of cash is the number one. We always pay attention to that. But then creativity is a real currency. And then these are the two people miss: your contacts and your current information. And your current information. And the last one is time. You know.
What do you mean your current information? What does that mean?
We're COVID-19. This is the one. This is what I want to see. And while anybody listening to this, I need you to reach out to all the people you know. COVID-19. You talk about the $2 trillion bill that came down from the government, right? Now, if you have contacts in the government, if you got people that you know somebody who knows somebody, you knew exactly when it was going to drop. You knew exactly how the paperwork was going to go. If you didn't have the paperwork in advance, you know, so you got that. You had the correct information, the most current information on how to fill out that paperwork and get your hands on that money. It's not an accident that Harvard got hold of $8 million in a minute.
Right.
$8 million, which, by the way, sit on a $40 billion endowment, is literally the change in the sofa.
Right.
You know, it's nothing to them. So they turn around and say, well, this is going to be for financial aid. I'm like, it's nothing to you. But $8 million might save 8, 10, 20 small businesses.
Right.
Right? You know, it's like, you know, it's nothing to Harvard, but it's the world to these small businesses.
Or to an HBCU. What does it mean to an HBCU? That could have saved some of our HBCUs that we lost, right? Or that we're losing, right?
So I'm saying that current information, having somebody who knows the deal, who knows what's going on. It's like, you know, look, I remember when I first, you know, I got on my first little show, got my first little couple dollars, and I was renting an apartment, and I walked into a condo in a gated community, and it was gorgeous. It was vaulted ceilings and everything like that. I was like, oh, this is nice. Oh, and they said it's $180,000, and I thought, $180,000? Ain't nobody got $180,000. I knew nothing about real estate. I didn't realize that $180,000, when you factor out a mortgage, would have been less than what I was paying in rent in the hole I was in at the time. I knew nothing about real estate. Nobody gave me the current information. This will make your money stretch longer. This is going to make your money make you money, that sort of thing. You need somebody who's passing that information back, and then you need somebody with the contacts to get that current information. You know what I'm saying? Those are all currencies. Those are all currencies. And you need somebody who's willing to open up their Rolodex and make things happen. I'm going to forget the brother's name. Barack Obama, what's the documentary's name? There's a documentary about a dude who nobody knows. The public doesn't know this man, but he is the godfather amongst black folks. Who he opened up his Rolodex to Barack Obama, and Barack Obama will say, I don't know that I'd be president if that dude hadn't connected me with all the right people. He opened up, contacts being a form of currency. Let me give you this person. Let me give you that person. Let me give you these people's ears, and let me give you, you know, the information on how to play the game. So you need people. We have black people in the entire economic strata right now. We need people up top, not just throw cash. You know, look, I'm an actor. I have no usable skills whatsoever. All I can do is talk a little bit, right?
Right.
I can talk and hopefully make you listen. We need some people who actually have the knowledge of these bills to get that information to the small businesses and make sure they know how to, you know, as a pro bono thing. This is how you need to fill out this paperwork, and you need it in. I want you to have it ready, and they're doing this new bill because they realize that all the money got sucked up for all the small businesses.
Right.
Somebody needs to make sure the paperwork is in the folks in their hands, ready to go, and drop it at the first moment. We need those people who know that to show up and give that information back. You know.
Right.
That to me is a mutual aid as important as cash, because that's going to help.
Absolutely.
You know, that's teaching a man to fish, not just giving him a fish.
Absolutely. We're going to hear a little bit more about the history of Black Mutual Aid. Jason, you're going to stick around and be in the comments, right?
Yeah.
So if people have questions for you, please type them in the chat, and Jason will stick around. We're going to bring on Scholar Tabisi Lay Griffin to talk about the history of Black Mutual Aid, and we're going to be plugged into 3 Black Mutual Aid organizations that you can give these 5 things that Jason just talked about: your currency, your creativity, your current information.
Your cash, your creativity, your contacts, and your current information. And the last one is your time. When you volunteer, it's something to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I said Chronos, but that's because I took Latin. was gonna be a lawyer for a minute. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jason, because you were giving some of that to us right now, and we
thank you for
appreciate
always
you.
being on point. Thank you for always fighting the fight, leading the charge, and call me up anytime, and I will back you up any day of the week.
I appreciate that, brother. Insane. All right.